Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for your words and wisdom. Thank you to our many distinguished guests, the President of the General Assembly, UN and diplomatic leaders, business, philanthropy, media, and the arts, members of the UN Foundation Board. We are especially glad to welcome so many young people here this evening alongside our exceptional honorees. Thank you also to Ted Turner, our fearless founder. He's not here tonight, but he is always with us in spirit and reminding us what matters. Tonight, we will hear from leaders who don't just talk about cooperation, they practice it, often under pressure. They exemplify traits we don't see or celebrate enough: a clear compass, an embrace of humanity, courage to act on their values even when the ground beneath them shifts. And the ground is certainly shifting beneath us all. In the Middle East, Ukraine and Sudan, in rising geopolitical tension and the return of nuclear risk, in human rights under renewed duress, especially for girls and women, 50% of the human population, in the triple threat of climate change, species loss, and pollution that is rapidly degrading the very systems that make life possible. You know, we talk a lot in this town about multilateralism, sometimes having to explain to others what can seem arcane. But it's a simple concept, and it isn't a relic. It's a requirement. When I was 6, my grandmother taught me to play poker. She introduced me to the concept of table stakes, what every player needs to chip in to a common pot in order to play the game. It is a minimum requirement to be eligible to take part. Now, at 6, that was mostly about graham crackers and toothpicks and pennies. It's a lot of pennies. But in 2026, we need to understand multilateralism the same way. It is table stakes for playing the game, and without it, the world won't work. Our health, our climate, our trade, our security, our prospects. Last week, I participated in an intergenerational dialogue about the UN's future, and one of the young people on the call said, "Young people today feel like the future is no longer something to build toward, but something to brace for." So take a second with that thought. To brace for, not to build. We have got to do better, and we know better is possible because we have done it before. Less than 2 months ago, a breakthrough deal to protect the high seas entered into force. 10 months ago, a similar pact on pandemics. One of our honorees tonight, Pedro Sanchez, reminds us in an essay just this past weekend that the last 80 years have been the most peaceful period in human history. Not perfect, not even perfectly peaceful, we all know that, but far more peaceful than any stretch of 80 years in our collective story as a species. So I have found myself lately reflecting on the UN Charter a lot. It was written after a world war. It helped frame the aspirations of new countries gaining independence. It gave this institution, the United Nations, an enduring foundation that also allowed for change, if still not enough of it. But what should never change is the Charter's ambition, the audacity of that idea that we can temper our worst impulses and strive for our best possibilities if we do it together. That's what the United Nations is for. It's what it's about. It's not about departments and agencies and budgets. It's about a precious idea that needs all of us just as we need it. So tonight, as we celebrate extraordinary leaders across generations, let us also recognize what this room represents and what we're called to do. At a time when some are turning inward or off, this community can make a different choice for common endeavor, for mutual support, for cooperation that, yes, unites our strengths. We shouldn't be bracing for the future. We need to build it. And we are just immensely grateful to all of you for putting your shoulder to the wheel to that end. So thank you again for joining us tonight.